People, deluded. I'm back again. Now, listen, it's very important not to speak on certain things and to be very careful with your words and your stances and positions on certain things. Now, I do believe there are certain things footballers shouldn't speak on or be very wary when speaking on it. Equally, I believe footballers should speak up on rights when they can. Footballers can't change the world. In fact, even when I do think people can be very unfair in that people think rich people or celebrities can save, or even people like Ozil or whatever, where they've obviously got a lot of money and they're in positions of prominence, think they can really change anything. I mean, we live in a world where I've seen people, heard people on Twitter and whatnot, criticising millionaires for donating £1 million. People sit there and say, why didn't you donate £1.5 million or 2? So there is no pleasing people. Obviously, Mesut Ozil is someone that hasn't forgot his roots. Yes, he played for Germany, but he never forgets his Turkish roots and has a lot of good causes, particularly around child hunger or child homelessness, not just in Turkey, but in a lot of countries. You've recently seen a football team named after him in Ghana because of, him helping people. Ozil does a lot of good work, and whatever you say about his footballing ability, you cannot question him as a man and what he's tried to do because of the privileged position he's found himself in. He donates shirts, makes little schemes, does up charity, raises awareness, brings little sick kids to the Emirates and whatnot. Ozil's very good at that sort of stuff, and I can't begrudge him for that. He's obviously shedded light on, I can't remember the specific term, but long story short, there's a lot of Muslim concentration camps in China. I'm not going to speculate, but it does seem like ethnic cleansing and stuff. Some of the accounts you read of people actually getting out of these concentration camps, the traumas they're going through, that certain people are not recognizing their family and scared of any loud noises and interactions, all because of their faith. Whether you're Christian, Muslim, whatever your faith is, someone shouldn't face anything like that. Like, it's barbaric, and it's sad that it's essentially ethnic cleansing people in 2019 turning 2020, and the world is batting a blind eye. And I am disappointed with Arsenal for condemning Mesut Ozil for actually speaking out on it and saying that Arsenal stays out of politics. I get it, but this is where it comes into you've got to pick a side. Not that you've got to pick a side, but you've got to have some morals. And I think we've put commerce or finance ahead of fundamentals, and we've really not helped ourselves. I love Arsenal. I'd love to work for the club one day, but I don't think I will because of the fact that I tell the truth. I think it's an absolute piss take, people, because first and foremost, it's the same. There's not exactly a correlation, but basically saying you stay out of politics when Ozil's kind of condemned the treatment of Muslims over in China and what's going on and happening to them for the tragedy that it is. You can't condemn Ozil for that. And then again, there's no correlation really. But didn't Bellerin, election day, Bellerin made a hashtag fuck Boris. Now, I agree with fuck Boris, don't get it twisted, but that's a political statement. Is there Arsenal? There's obviously Labour, Conservative, Lib Dem, Arsenal fans. Maybe even I don't think anyone in that boardroom is voting Labour in the Arsenal boardroom and whatnot. Why didn't you tell Bellerin to shut up and condemn Bellerin, but you've condemned Ozil? Now again, the two aren't correlated, but I think that tells you everything. Arsenal are simply protecting commercial interests. Did we not open a restaurant in China the other day? Is there not plans to do the same thing? Obviously, Ozil's comments caused such a stir. Arsenal versus City allegedly is taken off Chinese TV, CCTV I believe it's called. I cannot, for obvious reasons, confirm that, but that's allegedly what's happened. In a lot of blogs and news rounds, it's doing a lot of rounds. Obviously, we're protecting our commercial interests because we've got one restaurant there. There's plans to open more. We've obviously been on tour in China as well as different parts of Asia. Probably want to do that again. So, if you look at it from a business proposition, Ozil's on his way out of Arsenal, and China are a commercial outlet and seem to be growing within football. Arsenal want to keep that open. It is what it is, but for me, it's disgraceful. It is very disgraceful. I mean, it's a chance to make a stand and condemn what is happening to people in that nation for the race they're from. Not the race, sorry, their faith that they support. I mean, it's scary. Could you imagine being Christian or being Muslim or being black or being Caribbean or whatever you are? Could you imagine being put in a concentration camp or condemned to vicious treatment or segregation or being treated less as a person purely because of who you are? And I think that's very poor, people. It's very poor in society, people. It's sad, people. Like it's very sad, and apparently Arsenal's, like I said, some Arsenal fans have condemned Ozil for his comments, particularly the ones from China. Arsenal's statement came out via Chinese social media site Weibo as well. Sorry, people, I'm just reading this again. Ozil went on to criticize both China and the silence of other people and other Muslims around the world, and just people that could try help. Just anyone not voicing this. He really condemned it at everybody, not Muslims around the world. Sorry, that's not what the thing he says. It's sad. It's really sad. It's very sad, people, to see that the club have distanced themselves, man. Rights groups say about 1 million people, mostly from the Muslim Uyghur community, forgive me for mispronunciation, are thought to have been detained without trial in high security prison camps. China says they are being educated in vocational training centers to combat violent religious extremism. And I mean, I'm not going to speak about certain events that happen in world wars and that, purely because when you speak on certain groups, they come and shut your thing down. But it very much stinks of that. And I think where you stand in positions like this, it says everything. Of course, we'll never know the individual or individuals at Arsenal that said, yo, let's go out and say we don't condemn Ozil's comments, but they get to hide behind the whole corporation, which is Arsenal. Whoever it is, whatever, I think it's very disgraceful, because Arsenal, we're a club of the community. We're a club that stands up for everybody. We're a club that is about values and principles. And I felt whether you wanted, you didn't necessarily have to support Ozil, even though I would have, but you didn't have to condemn it. And I think that says it all. We know Arsenal is of business, but it sucks, people, to hear a million. I've seen more than a million. I've seen different reports, but there's been million and there's been millions in concentration camps, people, essentially. They call them educational, they say they're educational centers, but that's essentially what it is, people. They're being tortured, essentially. They're being just for the faith, and it's sad. It's sad. And again, the club doesn't have a leg to stand on, because although there's not really a correlation, why didn't you condemn Bellerin? That's the same. That's a political statement to a degree. It's like you can't have one and then all. You still either tell everybody to shut up about these things or condemn them all, or just stay silent on them all and really recognise that Ozil is his own man. The club could have actually said Ozil's views don't represent ours or whatever. Well, they kind of did, to be fair. But you lot get where I'm going. It does leave a bad taste in my mouth for a club like Arsenal that's first class normally for things like this. I have to tell it like it is. On that note, though, I'm going to keep it moving. People, it's been a pleasure, but DG's got to go, man. I'm out.